Hey guys, in today's video, I want to tell you the first 3 things that I would do if I were new to photography. The first thing I would do if I wanted to get deep into photography tomorrow and I was new to it is that I would get the right gear as soon as possible. It's fine if that's a phone. A lot of people will say, well, just use your phone, just start with your phone. And that's obviously better than nothing, but it is better in my mind if it's something substantial, and I'll tell you why. A phone can be forgotten. It slips into your pocket, hidden away until it vibrates, or you need to get a dose of dopamine to get you through those quiet moments in life where your brain is afraid to go to all those places you avoided going to. So you turn on your phone, and for that instant, you get hit with that dopamine to help you cope with reality. Hopefully that's not you. And whether that's true or not, whether you have a healthy relationship with your phone or not, your brain is trained to see the device as a certain thing, a tool for connection and consumption, not necessarily for creation and inspiration. For me, it's a tool for taking snapshots, but I doubt your brain sees that little device like a brush or a canvas, like a tool for creating art. But whatever you use to take photos, you should look at it like a tool for creating art and nothing else. Otherwise, I think you'll forget to do it. On the other hand, if your first camera is a little bit clunky, a little bit old, or even new, but not something you're used to, if it's not the easiest thing to use, if it forces you to think about things that you are or not doing, well, that's great, because that will bring with it intentionality. It forces you to really think about what it is you're trying to capture, and you have to sacrifice a little bit to photograph. It may seem counterintuitive, but that will make you a better artist in the long run. It brings you intentionality, it helps you question what you are photographing and why, but even more than that, it's not as convenient as a phone. It's not something you can just put in your pocket and put away. It's either something that you're gonna have with you, and it's inconvenient to have with you, or it's not, and it's not an option. So yes, buy a camera. Does it matter so much what the camera is? In my opinion, no, it doesn't, not really. Everyone has a different budget. Everyone has different things that they want to point their camera at. Some cameras are better at pointing at certain things than others. That's out of the scope of this video. Do your research. Get the best lens or lenses first, and then the camera body second that you can responsibly afford. And then, and this is key, keep it with you at all times. If it were me, just starting out new to photography, I'd get this, and I'd have it with me always. Something that looks good, sort of an accessory so that, I don't stand out, not something massive like a DSLR. Though it's fine if you do want to go the DSLR route, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, a camera like this, the Fuji X100V, I can pretty much take with me everywhere. I don't feel weird or out of place with it at restaurants, in town, running errands, traveling, pretty much everywhere it's acceptable. But it's also not something I can slide into a pocket and forget about. I try to keep it around my neck whenever I'm out of the house, and in the house for that matter, because I document what happens in the house with pets and family and kids. I try to keep it with me always. That's the point. And it helps me to remember that I have a job to do. I'm documenting life. This constant reminder helps me to train my brain the way that I want it to work. I want to increase my awareness and always be on the lookout for interesting things to photograph, no matter what it is or no matter where I am. And this goes into the second thing that I would do if I was new to photography tomorrow. And that would be, I would have a goal to take at least 7,200 photos over the next year. Why 7,200? Because that's 20 photos a day, or 600 a month. And as a more experienced photographer now, I know that photography really is just a numbers game. If you ask any professional photographer, depending on the field, how many photos they're proud of in any given year, it may surprise you to hear that they've only maybe taken a dozen or less photos that they're really, really proud of in that year. And these are people who are taking maybe tens of thousands of photos a year, depending on the genre of photography. So that should put into perspective what it takes to really create artwork that you'll be extremely proud of. But there are several things that will not happen for you until you have taken tens or hundreds of thousands of photos. Here's the list. Until you have taken tens or even hundreds of thousands of photos, you will not, 1, master your camera. You want the camera to be an extension of your body, to be your ally as you create artwork, rather than something you struggle against or fiddle with, which gets in your way when you're attempting to capture fleeting or decisive moments. But mastering a camera takes time. So the more photos that you can capture, the sooner the mastery occurs. The second thing you won't get until you take tens or even hundreds of thousands of photographs is you won't develop your own set of rules for composition. In my experience, all photographers who've been around the block have a set of guiding rules for framing what they point their camera at. They have developed their own set of heuristics for evaluating their own art and the art of others, and that will include preferences for lighting, subject, composition, color, how to wrap all that up in a signature style, all of that. They'll decide which of those principles in each of those areas, like Western aesthetics when it comes to art, dynamic symmetry or Gestalt psychology, all of these principles that they buy into, ignore, or even eschew, they didn't know that immediately, and you won't either. That takes hours of scrutiny of your own work and thousands of errors before it kind of clicks in your mind and those synapses go wild, the combination of photographic elements that magically fall into place. Third, you're not going to learn what type of photographer you are until you take tens or even hundreds of thousands of photographs. And this is a journey of discovery. When you first get into photography, you may feel like you want to be a portrait photographer or a landscape photographer. And maybe that really will be where you spend your time someday. But just as often, people end up realizing that what they truly love about photography is not what got them interested in it originally. This is extremely common. Ask any professional or serious photographer and they are just as likely to say that what they started photographing is now not what they photograph today as those that do. And that is certainly true for me. I got into photography as a portrait photographer. As soon as I knew what I was doing, I started booking family photography, headshot photography, gigs, anything I could that me and my wife would run. But also we did weddings, events, really more of the posed end of things. But eventually I learned that my true passion was documentary photography and being a fly on the wall, not dictating how people acted when I took photos of them. Street photography, for instance, is now much more interesting to me. And rural landscape photography, as you know, many of you that follow the channel, I'm working on a project that deals with rural landscape, rural dystopia, if you will. And now I know I hate doing posed work with clients of any kind, but it took me at least 5, maybe 6 years of photography and tens of thousands of photos to learn that. Fourth, until you've taken tens or even hundreds of thousands of photos and edited and retouched a lot of those photos, you won't know what your signature style is that helps to define you as an artist. And when I say this, I'm talking specifically about that grading, retouching side. Color grading can be a huge part of the photographic process depending on the genre, but newer photographers really flounder a great deal here as they discover what they can do in grading tools like Lightroom, and that's okay. You should see what all the tools at your disposal have to offer and be creative with them, and you should and will make mistakes or do things later that a more mature version of you will look back at and cringe a little bit. I certainly have my fair share of cringy retouched photos, which is why I always, by the way, advocate that you keep your raw files, archive the photos before and post retouching. But to find consistency in the way that you flavor your photos, that will only come with retouching thousands of photos. So take lots and lots of photos. This is why, if it wasn't clear before, I hope it's becoming clear to you now why you need to always have your camera with you. You're going to annoy the crap out of your kids or significant other as you get into photography, I promise. Always stopping at random places for shots, always taking detours for better shots. If you're doing it right, you're going to drive your loved ones a little bit crazy, and hopefully they love you enough to tolerate that. But before we move on to the third thing that I would do if I were a new photographer, here are a couple tips that will help you with your goal to take 20 photos a day, 600 a month, 7,200 photos a year, which that's not a horrible, really difficult, complex goal, by the way. Once you get into rhythm, also, by the way, you might not do 20 every single day. In one photo session, you might take hundreds of photos and get you a long way down the path. Just setting an arbitrary goal and being consistent with it, that's what really matters, not the number so much. But it is a numbers game. The more, the better. Anyway, the first tip that I will give you is to get a photo project, and hopefully that's something with some longevity. Some of these photo projects are like the 365-day photo project. There's actually a website that can help you with that goal. The goal with this project is to take one photo that you're happy with every day for a year. I've never tried this. It sounds really hard, not taking the photo, but being happy with a photo. One photo a day that you're happy with, that's hard. But I know people who have done that And there is a marked difference between their photography before they bit off that photography challenge and what it looked like after. I even know one guy who won a photography contest along the way in his 365-day challenge. And it can be a game changer for newer photographers. But there are endless projects that you could do. I told you that I'm doing a rural landscape project. If you're a follower of the channel, you know what that's about. But there's another one I'm kind of doing on the side. I'm photographing desserts that I choose not to eat as a way to help give my health a boost. I've been a slacker lately, taking my camera out places like restaurants or family functions, but knowing that there will be tempting treats there help encourage me to remember to bring this guy with me for the project that I'm working on, which is all about choosing not to eat something unhealthy and taking a photograph of it instead. And I found that's empowering. I'm much more resilient to temptation. It's almost like, in a way, I have consumed that thing. I've added it to my little collection of confectionery compositions, and that helps make it easier not to eat that stuff. So there you go. There's my $100 million fad diet that I've just given you for free. You're welcome. Another thing you could do is what I did when I was brand new. And truth be told, if I were suddenly a brand new photographer again tomorrow, I would do the exact same thing that I did last time. And I would use a website called GuruShots.com. This is not a sponsored plug or anything. In fact, there are some negatives about Guru Shots that I'll talk about a little bit, but it's an awesome tool for new photographers to get motivated in a gamified sort of way. Guru Shots promotes these micro photo competitions. Every week or two, you'll get these new challenges, and they're basically just on rotation. It could be as broad as a black and white photograph challenge, or it could be to photograph something inspired by the golden ratio. Could be macro photography, textures. They pretty much do every type of photo that you can think of and turn it into a challenge or a mini photo contest. And in addition to just trying to capture and submit photography for all these contests, you're also going to have to vote on other people's works if you want them to vote on your work or for your work to be seen. So it sort of forces this collaborative feedback gamification session, and it can be really great for helping you develop your eye as well. There are some not great things here too, like the groupthink that happens with promoting photos of a certain type, sort of that Instagramification of photography, but I don't know, it's fine. There's plenty of other things that people have criticized about Guru Shots as well. A lot of professional photographers who have won actual photo contests might not have nice things to say about it, but say what you will, if you subscribe to these challenges and attempt to become a guru, a title you can earn on the platform, I earned that after my first year on the platform, which was really fulfilling for me at the time. It was sort of felt like beating Mario Brothers when I was a kid. It gave me a major sense of accomplishment, and I see it as a stepping stone in my progression. As artificial as that might be, if you do it, it's absolutely going to make you a better photographer as a result. There's just no way it won't. And it will help you to take your 7,200 shots in your first year of being a photographer. The last thing I'll say about photography volume, and something that has helped many newer photographers that I've instructed in the past, is a very simple principle you'll hear me repeat constantly, which is borrowed from the world of writing, and that is to photograph with abandon, edit mercilessly. It can help to not bring any judgment in the photography experience itself. That is the experience of being out there in the world and making photographs. Try to talk your brain into being okay experimenting with anything. If your brain says things like, well, that won't be a good shot, or I'll look stupid if I go and photograph that thing, just do it anyway. Err on the side of taking too many photographs and talk your brain off that little judgment ledge. Again, it's a numbers game. The more that you photograph, the more keepers you'll have, the more chances you'll have to come away with those priceless shots, those dozen or so a year that you just would never have captured if you were too timid to take the shot to begin with. Then when you're behind the computer screen, potentially days later, looking to edit and retouch that work, that's when you can be all judgy on your work. Put on your critical thinking hat, start developing your list of heuristics that you'll apply to your work, apply those heuristics and see how things fit, adjust them, learn what works for you. That's when you'll be very selective about what photos you're going to show other people, post on social media, etc. I've found if I separate those two aspects of photography, keeping editing, critiquing, and judging something I only do when I'm at the computer, and allowing my creative, curious, explorative, artistic self have full control when I'm actually taking photos, That is a winning combination that could promote a healthy approach to photography. But if you bring too much judgment into taking photographs, you will stifle potential creativity and slow down your development. And it will limit the number of photos you take, which inhibits your growth. So remember, photograph with abandon, edit mercilessly. Finally, the third thing I would do if I were new to photography is I would consume photography-related content not vicariously, vivaciously. This is a gimme for you. You're obviously already doing that, or you wouldn't be watching this video. But there are a few pieces of advice that I would offer you as you do this. The first is, get ready for the plug, to join me on Patreon to gain access to my Zero to Hero photography workshop. This course is specifically designed for you to help take you from wherever you are in your early to mid journey into photography to the point where you are taking photos that you're really proud of. We go into much more details into subjects I've hinted at in this video. Subjects like adopting rules for framing or photography heuristics, learning what they are and how they can help you. We talk about all the critical components that need to happen as you approach the scene, all the things that happen before you press the shutter button. Things like mastering your camera, awareness, exposure, mastering lighting, subjects, composition, everything you need to be a photography hero. You'll also get early access to my videos, and you'll get those ad and interruption free. And beyond that, you'll also be helping me feed my family, which makes you my hero. So join me over on Patreon and start your Zero to Hero photography journey today. Other places to consume photography content, I'm a huge fan of studying the results of photo contests. I spend a lot of time studying the work of those who other experts in the field deem as superb. These photos have taught me so much. So spend some time Googling photography contests and just peruse the work. This can often be more powerful than anything anyone ever says. Photo books can be great. Personally, I don't go into them too much because they are expensive and I just don't want more things in my home. I'd rather consume photos digitally. But I know that there are a lot of photographers for whom photo books have been a priceless part of their own development as photographers. Beyond that, YouTube is great, of course. There's so many options. When I was learning, I really enjoyed watching photo critiques like The Grid or Tony and Chelsea's photo critiques. It'd be great for you to go back and binge watch photo critique style content and learn what other experts say about what makes photography great to them. But big, huge caveat here, be careful not to put too much stock in hard and fast rules. And this is something that I talk a lot about in my coursework. These are rules that people have developed for themselves, not for you. Photography is not an officiated sport, nor is it medical or the legal field. You won't be disbarred if you don't follow the rule of thirds, for instance, and click on my video here to hear what I think about the quote-unquote rule of thirds. But understanding the rules that other people give for themselves can help you learn what rules that you want to follow. But these rules really only serve to help you develop your own heuristics and your own signature style. And that's not something that you're going to learn until, like I said, you've observed lots of photography, heard other photographers talk about photography, and taken tens or even hundred thousands of photographs yourself. So be patient with yourself. Don't be too quick to become dogmatic about anything that you hear from anyone else. It's nice to treat them like theories that you want to test and experiment with. This is an exciting phase, though, of your personal development where you get to just play and explore and not take anything too seriously and just discover. And that's really what photography is all about. So don't be too quick to jump past that point to becoming stuck in some serious world of having to live up to some expectations that have been built up by everyone around you. Just have fun. But that's all I have for you today. I really hope that you enjoyed this and that it gave you a boost of inspiration or interest in starting or continuing your own photographic journey. Don't wait to start. Keep that camera with you always and start chipping away at that 7,200 photo mark a year or more, hopefully more. And remember to do good with your camera, and we'll talk to you again real soon.